So AI is replacing labor. It's going to be productive, as you said. It can probably accelerate discovery. And then probably the fourth thing AI does is it really collapses geographic borders because communication is seamless now. And like when people say AI, like I saw Microsoft saying that the measure of AI success is GDP growth goes to 10%. That's more discoveries happen or language barriers collapse, but it's not worker replacement,
right?
Because that's contractionary. So I think that the most tangible use case now is actually labor replacement because companies can show ROI on that.
But do you think that's happening right now? Because again, we're recording this on Thursday. Last night, NVIDIA reported. I listened to the call. I read through the transcript. You know, they keep talking about total cost of ownership and ROI, and they're trying to tell a story for their customers how this is like a good thing. And you know what you just mentioned about on the employment front and what can do to their workers. I mean, I'm taking the over, Tom, on this. You know what I mean? I just think like every time I turn on my phone or I open my computer or I put on CNBC or whatever, I'm hearing AI, AI, AI. And you hear a company like Microsoft has a strong vested interest that everybody believes this too, is talking about 10% GDP growth. Who are their customers? The Fortune gazillion. You know what I mean? Like they need everybody to buy into this, right? If you think about it. So I'm wondering if things like if we're reaching a little bit of a fever pitch on the expectations of what comes from this technology.
I don't know. I mean, I would just say that because you and I both were in financial services, look at how a low-level AI technology in the 2000s, which was trading, like automated trading, wiped out maybe even in an 18-month period, the entire business of trading. You know, like JP Morgan had an entire floor of traders of different products, and it really went down.
Well, it happened all at once, but it was a decade in the making, right? Like, isn't that fair to say? Because there's also trust issues there. There's also, compliance. There's a whole host of things.
Yeah, but it's already visible. Like I think that this is the year that like call center cities will shrink massively. You know what I mean? That's not going to affect the U.S., but that's going to just wipe out entire regions outside the US. And we already know, like in the creative space, it's already had a big effect. So I think it's already eating jobs that you didn't think it would be eating. So,
and it's eating in some ways very high paying jobs. So coders, right? Like you just mentioned in the creative space, but then on the other side of it, and like your point is like call centers in the Philippines servicing US customers, right? That may make it a bit cheaper for like, let's say JP Morgan or Citibank, you know what I mean? But not that much cheaper. That's why they're over there in the Philippines.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you heard like the stuff from Klarna.
Yeah.
Like the resolution times collapsed. I mean, here's a fact, because we're a small business, technology cost is really high. It's only been going up. It's probably gone up every year, probably since whatever, 1990. So it's for the first time that the technology intensity of a business can go up, but their tech spend could go down because, but a lot of it's labor, it's hiring someone to manage the website or to write the app, just writing an app for a small business is an expensive endeavor. It's gotten a lot cheaper.
Tom Lee just decided to drop some piping hot insights into what Nvidia and Jensen Huang are doing right now behind the scenes, and he just can't believe how insane it all is. Meanwhile, Deepwater Asset Management's managing partner, Munster, recently highlighted 5 key revelations from NVIDIA's groundbreaking keynote presentation. This news is a game-changer for NVIDIA, so let's unravel it right now. Welcome back, everyone, to Investocracy.
Anything you've heard here that's either different from what you expected, reinforcing your kind of expectations as a shareholder, or what are you looking for that might be further to build the case here?
Yeah, so the really interesting thing to me is that Jensen's already starting to pivot away from data center. If you notice, as soon as we started having the conversation following DeepSeek around whether there was still some there as far as data center, or if we would start to see companies like Microsoft and Amazon and Facebook and others pull back on some of that CapEx that they promised in the data center space, Jensen's already talking now about autonomous driving as if it's here. He's already talking with other cell phone carriers about integrating the chips there instead of having them live in inside of the data centers as a way to get to the mobile opportunity. So I think what's really interesting is he's already forecasting out years ahead where he sees NVIDIA still playing a real role as far as the AI revolution is concerned, rather than sort of resting on their laurels and focusing on where AI is today and where that inference is happening in the data centers today.
We should mention, of course, Malcolm joining us from Future Proof down in Miami Beach. We didn't just interrupt your vacation or anything like that, so that explains the backdrop. Gene, it all sounds great if Jensen is kind of broadening out the scope and talking about all these non-data center uses and the runway he sees there. But man, this has been the cleanest investment story for the longest time, right? It's just like insatiable demand for those GPUs. Supply constraints, the massive revenue growth. And is that becoming complicated here? Has he said anything that's going to confirm the revenue outlook, let's say, for next year?
Well, if you want to read between the lines, there was a comment about revenue outlook over the next couple quarters. He said no one should buy Hopper. He laughed and said, "I'm the chief revenue destroyer. My salespeople are going to hate me." But he says that comment because he knows how strong Blackwell demand is. There's no scenario where, if he was concerned about where the business is in the current state, that he would make that joke. And so I think that that's one reading between the lines. And I agree with Malcolm. I think that the bigger picture, beyond just 1 or 2 quarters, the central question here is, how long is this growth going to continue? And that goes back to a comment that he had on their last earnings call about this 100 to 1 million times more compute. And by my count, he spent a third of the 2 hours building his case that we're still early in this build out. And he talked about those autonomous opportunities, but I think the data center still is a huge opportunity for them. And so I really saw this as him reiterating his belief that we're still early, backfilling on some bold statements he made a few weeks ago.
So, what did Gene Munster really discover at NVIDIA's keynote? The AI infrastructure is just getting warmed up, despite what the doubting investors may claim. CEO Jensen Huang sent shockwaves through the market, emphasizing that the demand for AI is only beginning to snowball. Huang's bold move of suggesting customers skip current-generation GPUs for the new Blackwell models reveals NVIDIA's confidence in the AI market's growth. But before going on with the video, are you into cryptocurrency? If so, check out our second channel, Investocracy Crypto. We bring you breaking news, expert analysis, and the latest trends in the fast-moving world of digital assets. Whether you're a seasoned crypto investor or just curious about the future of finance, we've got something for you. Click the link in the description to subscribe to Investocracy Crypto now. Don't miss out and stay ahead of the game. Now, let's get back to the video.
I just do wonder if the customers here, the big cloud platforms and everybody else that's, spending tens of billions of dollars this year and more on trying to build out this infrastructure, if they're happy to sign up for unending cycles of this. In other words, it's not like there's no time when they can essentially say, aha, we built something, it can now scale from here. It seems like it's a treadmill.
Well, I think the biggest challenge is they have to spend these tens of billions of dollars just to compete against everyone else who's spending tens of billions of dollars to be there, right? The risk of not building and spending the money to build out that data center is way higher than it is if you overbuild and then you don't necessarily need the capacity that you thought you did. So I think realistically, the CapEx that we've talked about is baked in and is firm for 2025, regardless of whether we have suspicion that maybe they'll want to dial that back later on. I don't think they can afford to. I think there's constant worry that my next door neighbor, Google, for example, Alphabet, Google Cloud, is going to get there if I don't spend the money, if I'm Microsoft, to protect my moat as Azure.
Gene, I have a very vivid memory of similar talk about this when it came to EMC back in the late 90s, or Cisco, where it's like, I wish we could stop paying you guys for this stuff, but we just can't. And it worked really well, but eventually the market might get a little bit antsy about the idea that it's not going to be sustained. And maybe that explains why NVIDIA's valuation has gotten compressed. What's your take on how the stock is absorbing all this?
No, absolutely. I don't think it's absorbing it very well. It is not absorbing it well. essentially all these positive comments. If you take Jensen at face value, the stock should be meaningfully significant higher from where we're at, potentially 30, 40, 50, 100% higher. And I think it really speaks to some of that scar tissue 25 years ago and investors just reluctant around what the ultimate growth rate is in calendar 26. Right now, the street's at about 25% growth. I think it's probably going to be 35 or 40%. But I think at the core, there's this, again, question around sustainability. And I think that there are some very big differences between now and 25 years ago. Continue to believe NVIDIA is in a good place. The question for investors is going to be, number one, immediately the narrative shifts to what are the hyperscalers going to say in 5 weeks? And second is every quarter that they don't get credit kind of pushes that gets them closer to a point where they're not going to be growing at 35% plus. And so I think that that is one dynamic. Will they ever get credit for it? I think that they will, but they're not certainly not getting credit for it today.
NVIDIA has a track record of consistently upping its game in AI computing power, and Munster's insights shed light on the upcoming tech leap with Rubin Ultra. The power-hungry Rubin Ultra might just be a boost for Vertiv Holdings and a blessing for the NVIDIA stock and all of its current and future holders as it blows up with demand. But before going any further, if you made it this far into the video, thank you. These videos take a lot of effort and time to make, so if you enjoyed them, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. This goes a long way in helping us grow. That said, back to the video.
NVIDIA shares moving lower today, one of the worst performers in the S&P, despite CEO Jensen Huang's highly anticipated keynote address this afternoon at the company's GTC conference. As expected, Huang revealed new Blackwell Ultra chips that'll ship in the second half and next-generation Vera Rubin GPUs for next year. More Insights and Strategy CEO Patrick Moorhead is at the keynote, joins us now. Pat, did Jensen Huang make the argument successfully between Rubin and Dynamo that price performance leadership will remain for the next couple of years?
So I think he said the right words. There were no doubt, and I think he did a very good job at it, correlating tokens and cost per tokens and how much revenue you could derive from those. But I think, quite frankly, investors want to see customers say the same thing. They want to see a revision in the guidance to an upward basis to get higher levels of confidence.
It's hard not to see the potential waiting to be harnessed. The future seems bright for NVIDIA and its ventures into AI. But what do you think? Share your thoughts. Finally, if you would like to know what companies like NVIDIA have been up to these past few days, go ahead and click on the next video on your screen. See you there.